It's good to be here. It's actually good to see everybody. There's really not a lot of pressure speaking in front of this group. The biggest pressure is just making sure that you're able to share your screen. I think I hit share screen to make sure that I could see my screen 8 times since I've been sitting here waiting because I didn't want to have that issue that I had the last time. So if you guys don't mind, I am going to share my screen so that we can get started. Perfect. All right, can you guys see my screen? Perfect. All right, so today I am going to be focused on the February 28 dues delinquency deadline. We are already more than halfway through the month of February, which means the deadline is actually next week. And so this meeting becomes even more important to for our new AEs and membership staff. And it's also a good refresher for those of us that have gone through this process over the years. So today we are going to cover the February 28 dues delinquency deadline, how to submit dues payments to C.A.R., how to submit your RAF and HAF payments to C.A.R., and we're going to cover how to export your active paid and unpaid members from the BCT to Excel. The February 28 dues delinquency deadline has actually been in place for over 20 years. And so for those of you that are new, you're probably wondering where this language is located in the bylaws and what do the bylaws say about the dues delinquency deadline, right? Well, the bylaws doesn't specifically say February 28th, but that date is implied by the language that is being used. Look at what it says. So in Article 9, Section 3, it says dues for all members is payable annually in advance of the first day of January. Then Section 4 says non-paying members can be suspended for non-payment within 1 month of the due date and then terminated within 2 months of the due date. And so what this means is the dues are due every year on or before January 1st, and local associations can choose to inactivate unpaid members within 30 days after the due date, which would be January 31st, right? But all unpaid members
Keismond, you're muted.
Was I muted the whole time? Or did my system do that?
No, it was just the last maybe 30 seconds.
Oh, that was weird. I didn't even touch anything. All right.
At least you're sharing your screen.
All right, here we go. So, all right, so just going back to the bylaws, I just wanted to make sure that we all understand what the bylaws was saying, even though it doesn't specifically mention February 28th. That date is actually implied, and so this deadline is set up for all associations to abide by on an annual basis. So my goal today is to cover all of the steps involved in the process. And the good news is there are 2 steps in the process, but the process has many layers because some of the steps that you will follow for the February deadline also impacts the March 31st compliance deadline. And so we find ourselves trying to really strive for balance between the two deadlines because they are so close together. But the difference between the 2 deadlines is one is for realtor dues payments and the other one is for non-member payments. And it can be difficult trying to talk about one deadline without talking about the other, right? But today we are going to be specifically focusing on the dues delinquency deadline. As I mentioned earlier, you will follow a two-step process. Now, the first step in the process is to inactivate all unpaid active members on or before February 28th. The second step in the process is to submit C.A.R. dues payments for all active renewing members through N.A.R.'s e-commerce system on or before February 28th. Now, if your members pay their dues through N.A.R.'s online invoicing module, or if your system is set up so that when your members pay their dues online and the dues money is automatically sent to C.A.R., then you're good. But if your association collects the C.A.R. dues and it's being held in your association's bank account, then C.A.R. is expecting you to send the dues money to C.A.R. on or before February 28th. So let's talk about the first step in the process. And then we're going to go over what happens when you inactivate a realtor member for non-payment. The reason why this step is important is because when C.A.R. requests a data file from M1 on March 1st, they will be expecting a payment for all of your active members that are in that file. And so what you want to do today is you want to start the process of inactivating your unpaid members now. So if you take a look at the chart on the screen, you can see what happens when you start inactivating your realtor members. Inactive realtor members automatically become NMSPs, and these licensees will now appear on their broker's primary association's BCT. As you can see, the dues delinquency deadline, as I mentioned earlier, it also impacts the March 31st compliance deadline, but we're actually going to cover this more in detail at our next session. The good news is most of the realtor members that are inactivated usually renew their membership when they lose access to zip forms, right? So these records shouldn't impact your compliance score for too long. So let's focus on the step one process. So after you have inactivated your unpaid members, you want to go to your BCT dashboard because you want to make sure that the members that show active should be active. And the way to do that is by clicking on the link that says count under total realtors. And I'm actually going to go through a live step-by-step showing of how you would do this, but I just wanted you to see the screenshot of what you will do first. Okay, and so this is what we'll provide. This is the list that the system will provide, which is a list of your active, paid, and unpaid members. The members where the payment status reflects yes means we were able to process the financial records from M1 successfully. Now, if you've uploaded the financial records for a member that still reflects no on the BCT, it could mean the records are in a holding tank waiting for Myrna and our accounting department to process it. Or it can also mean we received the financial records, but the records went into a temporary exception table because maybe the payment type was incorrect or the dollar amount was incorrect. But whatever the reason is, you will receive a communication from our accounting department to resolve these types of issues. All right, so as I mentioned, the dues delinquency deadline is a two-step process. And so now we're going to talk about step number 2 in the dues delinquency process. So now step number 2 requires the association to submit dues payment to C.A.R. This process is, again, for those associations that collected C.A.R. dues, and the dues is being held in your association's bank account. And so C.A.R. is expecting the association to send the dues money through N.A.R.'s e-commerce system. As you know, N.A.R. is operating with 2 systems at the same time. They're using their M1 system, and they're also using the NERD's e-commerce system. What this means is you will still access NERD's e-commerce from the same link that you have always used, and you will be using your old NERD's POE credentials to get access. Do we have any questions so far, Peggy?
We do not.
Okay, perfect. And so in order for associations to submit their money to C.A.R. through e-commerce, you're going to select the e-commerce menu under point of entry, and then you will enter your e-commerce username and password. From there, you're going to select Create New Transfer. This is the option that you will choose when submitting C.A.R. dues money, late fees, new member fees, and non-member fees. Now, in order to complete the funds transfer, you will need to complete this section. So starting from the top, you will enter C.A.R.'s association ID, which is 808, in the receiving association field. Then you will enter the amount that you are transferring in the transfer amount field. Last, you will update the comment section with the breakdown of what's being submitted to C.A.R., which should include the renewing member count, the new member count, the new member fee or late fee counts. That should all be included in the comment section. So what's important to remember is the dollar amount that you are sending should match what you are including in the comment section, which is why this section is so important. It actually helps our accounting department reconcile the dollars with the counts. Also, you want to make sure that you are sending a separate payment for your RAF and HAF contributions. So when sending RAF and HAF payments, you want to make sure that you select the option PAC EFT transfer. So before, when we were sending dues, we selected the option that said create new transfer. But when you're sending PAC with RAF and HAF, you're going to always select PAC EFT. From here, you will follow the same steps as sending your dues payment. So starting from the top, you will enter C.A.R.'s association ID, which is 808, in the receiving association ID field. Then from the drop-down menu under the bank account, you will choose either Realtor Action Fund or HAF account, depending on what you're sending to C.A.R. at that point in time. Then you will enter the amount that you are transferring in the transfer amount field. Last, you will update the comment section with the month plus year, and then you will also include the count of members. And then you'll click the link that says Create Transfer. All right, so just to make sure that we all know we should be focused on this week and next week, let's recap the two-step process that we just went over. So number one, if you haven't started already, you want to start inactivating unpaid active members before February 28th. Number two, you want to submit C.A.R. dues payments for all renewing members through NAR's e-commerce system on or before February 28th. C.A.R. will request a member file from M1 on March 1st. C.A.R. will use this file to build the associations for all active members that are included in the March 1st M1 file. And last, excuse me, members that renew their 2021 membership on March 1st will be assessed a $30 late fee. So just to be clear, C.A.R.'s late fee goes into effect on March 1st. C.A.R. will not be billing the member for late fees. We will be billing the association for the late fees. Also, please let your members know that C.A.R. will not be waiving the late fee. This is actually that time of the year where we start getting all of those calls from members asking C.A.R. to waive the late fee. And again, C.A.R. will not be waiving any late fees. Do we have any questions, Peggy?
We do. We have two. The first one is from Ginger, and she would like to know, when will the BCT be updated with the paid status of our active members?
That's a great question. And you know what? I knew that question was coming up. right now, our accounting department is focused on processing all financial records that have been uploaded to M1 right now. And so most of the records that we have received have been processed. As I mentioned earlier, there are some records that may end up in the exception table, which means Myrna has to actually take a look at each record one by one to determine why the record didn't process successfully. One of the things that I wanted to try to show you today is how you can actually monitor your paid records without utilizing the BCT. Even though the BCT is our main go-to, you also want to be able to monitor that information on your own as well, because the BCT is getting updated daily. But because we're receiving so many financial records from the M1 system, a lot of times those records aren't updated until we receive it. It gets updated within 48 hours of the time that we receive it, and sometimes it can be longer. It just depends on the number of records that we're receiving from M1.
Great, thank you. And then just right now, when you went over the two-step process, Susie asked, if all of your members have paid their dues through e-commerce, then none of this is necessary, correct?
That is correct, because that means that the dues payments were automatically split. And so the dues payments went to C.A.R., NAR, and also the local association.
Perfect, that's all for now, thanks.
All right, perfect. So that was actually the end of my presentation for the dues delinquency deadline. Again, the dues delinquency deadline is really just a simple two-step process. We're just asking the associations to, number one, inactivate unpaid members on or before February 28th. And step number two, which is to submit all payments to C.A.R. on or before February 28th. So at this time, I am going to go to the BCT because I wanted to show you how you can access your active members that are showing paid and unpaid on the BCT. So here we go with trying to share my screen again. So you guys pray for me. We're going to undo share. First I'm going to open up the screen. All right, so I'm just going to go to, I know you can't see my screen yet. I'm just going to go to CAR.org first. All right. Okay. All right, so now I am going to go to CAR.org and share my screen. All right, can you guys see my screen? Perfect. All right, so I am going to, oops, here. I'm going to sign in. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the BCT. So in order to access the BCT, I'm going to click on my name and I'll scroll down to Broker Compliance Tool. So remember during the presentation, I had went over a step where you can actually access all of your Realtor members, which will show the list of all paid and unpaid members. And so this is the section that you'll go to. You'll click on the link that has your count of Realtor members. So if I click here, it's going to give me a list of all of our members that are direct members with C.A.R. That have either paid, where we process the financial record, or for those members where we have not received a payment for those members. And that section is located under the paid status field. And so if I click the paid status field, I can actually sort by the paid status. And so if I just want to see everyone that hasn't paid, I can click that paid status and it will sort it by the status. Or if I want to see everyone that has paid, I can click that status again, and it will show me everyone where we have actually processed the financial record for our individual members. And so this is something that you can also do on your end. Now, the one question that came up earlier was regarding C.A.R. processing the financial records from the M1 system. And so there are some delays, because if the batches that we're receiving from M1 are huge, it is taking our accounting department some time to process those batches. And so I believe they are processing batches in increments of 10,000. And so the files are pretty hefty. And so there are times where those files are getting processed within 48 hours, which means you won't see, if you upload a financial record today, you may not see that record on the BCT until Friday and sometimes Monday. It just depends on the workload or the data, the amount of data that we're receiving from M1. The other thing that you can do with this report is you can actually export it into Excel. And so if you just click Excel, it actually downloads the file for you. And if you click Excel, you can actually open it up. And can you guys still see my Excel spreadsheet?
Yes.
Perfect. And so this is what you'll receive once you export it out of the BCT into an Excel spreadsheet. And so from here, you can actually manage the data as well. One of the things that I also think is important for the associations to be able to do is also manage their paid records from M1. I know we depend on the BCT, but if I was an association, if I uploaded financial records to M1, I want to see these records updated on the BCT immediately, right? So I do understand when you upload financial records to the M1 system, you want to be able to see that information instantly. We're not there yet, but we will be there eventually. And so if you want to see your records that you have uploaded to the M1 system, you can actually request a refresh from the NERDS database. And so I'm just going to minimize the screen. Yes.
Before you move on, they don't see the Excel spreadsheet. It's just,
they didn't?
No, it's the agent list by association. Sorry.
Oh. This spreadsheet? Can you see that?
No.
No. All right.
Hey, Keismond, totally fine. You just have to reshare your screen.
Got it.
Opened up a new file. No worries.
Okay. What about now?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, I'm gonna have to practice on this, guys. I'm sorry I have to practice with you, but so anyway, this is the spreadsheet that was exported out of the BCT into Excel. And so this file will say agents by association. And so this will be your file. So it will contain a list of all of your active members, and it will also include their paid status. And so you'll be able to determine which records C.A.R. has processed a financial record for. So where it says yes, that means C.A.R. was able to process the record successfully from M1. Where it says no, it's highlighted in red, that means either the record is in a holding tank waiting for C.A.R. to process the record, or the record is an exception, meaning the system found an error where maybe the payment type code may have been incorrect, the dollar amount may have been incorrect, and so the system moved it into an exception table. The good news is our accounting department monitors the exception table. And so what they're going to do is if there is an issue with any member record, they will be reaching out to the association to get those records resolved as quickly as possible. Any questions on that, Peggy?
Actually, we have quite a few if you have a moment.
Yes.
Stephanie would like to know if an association is sending payment for multiple months, will this need to be made in 2 different transactions?
So if you're using the Nerds e-commerce system to transmit your dollars to C.A.R., you can do it all at once. The one thing that you want to do is in the comment section, that's what's important to make sure that you update. So you want to make sure that if you're sending a payment for January and February, you want to have January, and then you want to have the breakdown for the January data. And then right under that, you can also put February and also include the February data. So I'm just going to go back to my PowerPoint really quick, just so that we're all on the same page. Okay. All right, so this is the section that I was referring to. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So the comment section is, I'm sorry. The comment section is what's important. You want to make sure, as you can see, I've highlighted January, and then I've included renewing member count, new member count, and then you want to make sure that if you're including February as well, that you also include another section that says February, and you also want to include renewing or new member, or you want to include the count of members that you're including for that month. So you can include the same information in the file transfer that you're sending to C.A.R. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. I had a couple questions from people that say they have people on their BCT that have paid but are not showing as paid. Should they wait, or is there something that can be done?
You know what? If you have members where you've confirmed that the financial record was uploaded to the BCT successfully, what you can do is you can send an email to accounting@CAR.org. Include a few of those member records that you have confirmed show paid on the BCT, and also CC me because I can also assist in the process. I can actually confirm that we've actually received the records from M1. I can also identify if the record is just in a holding tank or if the record went to exceptions. But in the end, our accounting department is in charge of processing those records and making sure that it gets uploaded to the BCT successfully.
Thank you. Have the issues with Rapatoni been resolved with sending over the payment data to C.A.R.?
So I'm not aware of any issues with sending payment records over to C.A.R. The issue that I am aware of is local associations Rapatoni boards being able to upload the negative payments when correcting a record to M1. The Rapatoni system is not set up to do that. And so for those associations that need to correct a record in the M1 system, you won't be able to do that if you are a Rapatoni board. That doesn't cause an issue. When you need to upload the correct record to the M1 system, the Rapatoni system is just going to send up the correct record. We're going to get that information into our system, and it will upload successfully to the BCT. The only thing is M1 won't show a negative payment to offset the record that you're trying to correct. It will just show 2 records in the system, which is fine with us.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then I have two people who have commented that there's not enough room to add information because they're limited to the amount of letters and numbers that can be input. Can you address that?
Yes. One of the things that we try to address is making sure that we eliminated some of the characters in the comment section. There is a character limitation in the comment section. So the other thing that you can do is you can continue to eliminate some of the characters in this section. I mean, we can just call this, you know, we don't even have to call it renewing. We can call it, you know, renew members, or we just want to be able to eliminate some of the characters. We can even eliminate member and just put renewing count.
Great, thank you. That's all we have for now.
Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen really quick. And I'm gonna share my screen one more time. One of the things that I had mentioned earlier was the associations have the opportunity to manage their member data from M1 by looking at how many members are showing paid versus how many members are showing unpaid. And the way to do that is by requesting a refresh from Nerds. And so I want to show you how you can do that. All right, so sharing is always an issue for me. So let me just click here. All right. So before I go to the website, so this is the spreadsheet that I'm actually going to provide to all of the associations. So once I show you how to request the refresh from the Nerd system, I am going to show you how you can copy the financial records from what you receive from Nerds into this spreadsheet that we will provide. This spreadsheet can be used and sorted by billing year, because one thing about the refresh, it's going to give you everything that's in the M1 system. So if you've uploaded financial records back in 1999, it's going to include that information in the refresh. And so what you will want to do is actually sort on the billing year once you receive the file. So let me see if I can get access to the M1 system. Okay. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I'm just going to go to nar.m1. And so to request a refresh for your data, you're going to click on, you're going to scroll down to where it says batch refresh. From here, you're going to select the option tab delimited. You're also going to select the option that says financial, and then you're going to select email URL. Next, you're going to select refresh now. From this section, you'll see your association's name appear. So for California, it's going to, if I click refresh now, it's going to give me everything for California, which includes all of the local associations data. So I'm going to request this now because I need to utilize this data later. So I'm going to request a refresh now. Once I request it, I'll just choose OK. And what will happen is it usually takes between 10 to 15 minutes for NAR to generate that data for the association, and they're going to send it back to you via email. So it'll be a link in the email when you receive it. So when you click that link, you're just going to enter in your M1 username and password, and you'll be able to download that file into your system. Once you get that file, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to export that data into the spreadsheet that I showed you here. So this is where you're going to export that data into this spreadsheet, and you're going to sort by billing year, because the goal is to only show 2021 data. That will give you a clear picture of all the records where you've successfully uploaded your financial records to the M1 system. It'll also show you whether the payment type, because it's also going to show you the payment type field. You'll be able to see if the payment type that you've uploaded to M1 is correct, because our system is actually looking at the payment type code, we're looking at the billing year, and we're also looking at the payment amount. And so these two fields is what you want to look at: the payment type, the billing year, and the payment amount, to make sure that that information is correct for your members. And that will also tell you whether or not C.A.R. was able to successfully process the records into our system. If anything shows incorrect on that spreadsheet, that means that those records went into the exception report, and you'll actually be receiving a communication from our accounting department regarding those records that need to be updated. All right. So I think that was pretty much everything that I wanted to share with you guys. I apologize for the delays in sharing my screen. But do we have any further questions regarding the process?
Before we open it up to everybody, there's still two in the chat, Keismond.
Okay.
First one is from Brandy. She has people who are showing correctly as active LIFROs in N1, but they're showing up in the BCT as unpaid realtors, and she wants to know how that can be addressed.
Okay. You know, in that case, I would actually need to take a look at the record. One of the things that we've noticed is in the M1 system, the member type can show LIFRO, but you also want to take a look at the member subclass field, because if the member subclass field shows, you know, if it has an R or RA or, you know, DR in our system, it's going to appear as a realtor member, because the member subclass field actually takes precedence over the member type field. So you also want to check that field to make sure that the member subclass field is blank.
Great information, thank you. And then Ginger wants to know if you can provide a timeline for the changes on the DRE to accurately reflect the final DRE poll for the BCT.
Yes. You know, let me just take a look at the calendar really quick. So next Friday is actually the 26th. And so we actually receive the updated DRE files every Friday. And normally we would process that file on a Monday. And so always leading up to a deadline, we'll process the DRE file as soon as we receive it, which will be Friday. And so if your brokers are making any changes, meaning if they are dropping agents and making them MBA, on which should be done by Wednesday, in order for that change to be included in the record that we receive on Friday, then you will see that update on the BCT over the weekend.
Excellent, thank you. And then Susie has a two-part question. Can you please go over the process of refunds for PAC contributions? And she has a secondary member from Nevada who accidentally paid PAC and wants a refund.
Got it. Okay. Give me 1 second. I am receiving a message on my end. I don't know if you're seeing this, Peggy. It says only hosts can share. It's not allowing me to share my screen. Oh, here we go. All right, perfect.
Got it.
All right. Okay. So Arya Refund. So as you know, this year we actually required the associations to send an email, excuse me, to accounting@car.org when you're requesting a refund for RAF and HAF contributions. You also want to make sure that you include the member's name, NERDS ID number, and HAF, and I'm sorry, an RAF and HAF refund amount. Let's see, I believe there was some additional information that accounting wanted us to include. Let me just make sure I included that. All right, I think that was it. And so once you send the email to accounting@car.org, one of the things that we required was for the associations to also upload the negative payment amount for the RAF contribution that's in the M1 system. But for those Rapatoni boards, you're not able to send up the negative payment. And so you still want to send the email to accounting@car.org. And once you do that, that actually starts the refund process. Our accounting department will reach out to the association to expedite the refund for the member.
Great, thank you. Ginger would like to know how to do this if you use Rapatoni.
So for those Rapatoni boards, at this time, you won't be able to upload a negative payment to the M1 system. There's just no way around. Well, there is a way around it, but I would not require it because it will require a manual update. And so depending on the number of records that need to be updated for the Rapatoni boards, you may not want to go the route of manually updating the M1 system with the negative payment. But if it's just a handful of records, then you do have the option to go into the system and manually add the negative payment to offset the $49 payment that appears in the M1 financial record. But please if you want me to walk you through those steps, or if you want to discuss that further, just give me a call or send me an email and I can walk you through that process.
Thank you. Amy has 6 members that are not on any report that's been sent to C.A.R. and NAR, and she wants to know how to submit their payments. They're on a payment plan and the association will be sending in their payment.
All right, so I think we'll probably have to, if Amy can give me a call and we'll discuss that further, especially since it's a payment plan. I need to make sure how she's handling that as far as did they collect the 184 for C.A.R.? Have they collected the full payment for C.A.R and R? If so, then it's pretty much, the association is going to send those financial records through the e-commerce system, which is the steps that we went through here. You're going to send the payments electronically to C.A.R. through the e-commerce system. But I would like to actually speak with the association so that I can get some additional information, because I don't want to give incorrect information. And I also want to better understand the question.
Perfect. So Amy, contact Keismond after the meeting. And Susie has a multi-part question. Susie, can you unmute and ask your questions directly to Keismond, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hey, Susie.
Hi, Keismond. So, well, I have actually two questions. I'll start with,
Sure.
so when I send the link to e-commerce, which I'm, attempting to get all members to pay that way this year, I have quite a few that are just saying that they can't get in. They are redirected, do you know what the problems they're having, and is there a resolution?
You know what? I wasn't aware that there was an issue with members getting access to Nerds e-commerce. Have you confirmed that their record shows active in the Nerd system?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, the next thing is really just making sure that the member has the correct username and password when they're trying to access their invoice on Nerds
Yeah.
e-commerce.
I think that might be part of it. And then I think what happens is some people can't remember their passwords, so they
Yep.
reset it, but then it doesn't come back. Or, maybe they're just lazy and want me to process it for them, and which I've done for a lot of members. I don't know if I'm out there. I've done that a lot because it only takes me 30 seconds. My other question had to go back to the refund, and I sent
Yes.
it to C.A.R. accounting. I have not heard back. It's kind of a unique question, but when you have a member from Nevada, in my case, I can't send you a financial negative record because,
Right.
so how does that person get, I guess they'll have to contact their association in Nevada to send it to you. You know what I mean? How do we get that PAC refund?
So does the financial record appear on M1 under the member's record under your association, or is it showing under Nevada?
I think it shows under us because
Okay.
we're there, it's not really a secondary, it's a second membership through C.A.R. We're the primary as far as the state. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So in that case, you do have access to actually go in and manually, reverse or offset the payment. It didn't give you that option to do it?
I don't think so, because when I go to try to find that member, through M1, it will say that, I don't have access because I'm not. Anyway, that's kind of a unique question, I guess. So
I wanted to.
yeah, I tried it. I tried to do that, but I can't access her because her primary is Nevada.
Got it. Would you mind if we walk through that process live, or do you want to do it?
Oh, we can do it later. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, no
I
problem.
don't want to waste everybody else's time unless anybody else is interested in that. I think it's kind of a unique thing because we're near the Nevada border.
Okay, no problem. Then you and I will talk offline and we'll get that resolved.
Thanks.
Great. That's all I see in the chat. Anybody else? And if you have specific questions to your association, it would be best to contact Keismond after the meeting.
Perfect.
Okay. Keismond, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. There were a lot of really good questions and you covered everything. So really appreciate that.
I'm glad. Thank you, Peggy.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Guys, really
Thanks,
quick, I'm
everybody.
so sorry. Kimberly has her hand up if we're able to take one more question.
Sure.
So no, I was just following up on the out of state agents that have to pay C.A.R. We have quite a few of those actually. So I was just wondering about that process.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk offline, Kimberly, and we'll go ahead and get that resolved for you.
Everybody, thank you so much for attending, and there will be a follow-up email to all the attendees, and it'll give you a link to our YouTube channel where all of these AM 101 trainings are housed. Thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you, everybody.